everyone, it's Jennifer from Flux. In this video, I'm going to show you how to crochet and assemble the natural granny wall hanging. This is a pretty wall hanging and very popular and trendy right now. And this is so super easy to make. This is done in just 4 rounds of a granny circle, and then we're going to add some fringe. And what makes this really easy is that we're utilizing an embroidery hoop to hold it all together. So it's just a really easy thing to put together as well. Now, if you really like this design, or if it looks familiar to you, this is the first couple rounds of my coastal placemats. So I'll put the link down below for that if you wanted to make a matching set, something for your wall and for your table as well. So let's get started. For this project, you'll need a pair of scissors, a tapestry needle, a ruler or tape measure is super helpful, especially for the fringe part to get the length that you need. We're going to be using a 9mm crochet hook. This is my Furls Candy Shop hook, in case you're wondering. I can put links down below for that. And then you'll also need an embroidery hoop. Now this is one of those wood hoops where the center ring pops out and the top has a little tightening thing. You'll need that center ring for this part, and most of them do come that way. The one that I used is 9.5 inches across. Okay, and they sell all different types. If you choose smaller, just work less rounds of the pattern if you have a smaller hoop on hand. Now let's talk about the yarn for a minute. We're going to be pretty flexible about the yarn for this. We're going to use 2 strands. We're going to hold them double, so we're just going to hold 2 strands and act as if they were 1 strand of any worsted weight yarn. Now when we do the tutorial and I show you how to make this, I'm going to show you in the color that's pictured here, but I just grabbed this yarn to show you. This is Vanna's Choice yarn. This is a yarn that would be great for this project. You can hold that double. Let me grab another ball. You could also try Knit Picks Brava worsted and hold that double. Those would all be great. So any worsted weight yarn of your choice, just hold the strands double with that 9mm hook and you'll be just fine. So I switched to my dark background because we're working with some very light yarn here. So the first thing we need to do is put a slip knot on our hook. Now I wanted to say as a side note, if you've never worked by holding 2 strands together, it's very easy. You just hold them as if it were 1 strand of yarn. You just pretend it's 1 piece of yarn. It just adds a little thickness if you need it. Okay, so what we're going to do is put a slip knot on our hook. Wrap the yarn around your fingers to make a loop, bring the yarn behind the loop, reach in with your hook, bring up a loop, and tighten. Next, we're going to create a ring that we'll be working our stitches into. I'm going to just zoom in a little bit here. And we're going to chain 4. So to make a chain, wrap yarn around hook and bring it through the loop. That's 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then we're going to join in the farthest chain from the hook to create a ring. Insert the hook into that farthest chain. And then we're going to bring up a loop, and then we're going to bring that loop through the loop that's already on our hook. And then we're going to kind of open up the ring a little bit. And see this tail here, we're going to hold that along the edge as we work to weave it in as we go along. Also, if you prefer the magic ring method to begin, please feel free to do that instead of the chain 4. It's completely up to you. Let's begin with round 1. What we're going to do is chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to work 11 double crochets into the center of the ring. So to make a double crochet, wrap yarn around hook, insert the hook into the center of the ring, bring up a loop. You'll have 3 loops on your hook. Wrap yarn around hook, bring it through the first 2 loops. Wrap yarn around hook, bring it through the last 2 loops. So that's 1 double crochet, and we're going to do a total of 11. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, pushing things over as needed, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. okay? So that chain 3 we did at the beginning counts as one of our double crochets, and that will give us 12 spokes on our wheel. Then to close the round, we're going to count 3 chains up, 1, 2, 3, insert the hook into that third chain up, bring up a loop, now bring that loop through the loop already on your hook, and round 1 is complete. So you'll have like a little disc here of double crochet stitches. Another thing you can do, I like to do as I go along, is to flip it over to the back, and those tails we wove in, pull them really, really tight, and then you can just snip them with scissors, and those tails will be completely out of your way, and you can work without them being everywhere. So let's move on to round 2. For round 2, what we're going to do is chain 3 once again, 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to work a double crochet chain 1 into that first space. So the stitches are at the top here of these posts, but in between the posts are our spaces, okay? So that first space we come to, we're going to work a double crochet, chain 1, okay? Hop over to the next space in between those double crochets from the previous round, and then we're going to work 2 double crochet chain 1. 1 and 2, and then chain 1. The reason we only did 1 back here is because that chain 3 counted as one of our double crochets, okay? So it kind of mimics the same look. So we're going to do the same thing in every space all the way around. So next space, 2 double crochet, 1, 2, and chain 1. Next space, 2 double crochet, 1, 2, and chain 1. We're going to do this all the way around our circle, and then when we rejoin, I'll show you how to close off this round and start with round 3. Okay, just coming around to the end, I'm in my last space here, working 2 double crochet in that last space, and a chain 1, and then we're going to do the same thing we did before and join in that third chain up to close the round. Okay, so round 2 is complete, and it's starting to shape up and grow a little bit. For round 3, we're going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to work a double crochet chain 1 in each space all the way around, okay? So in that first space, double crochet, chain 1. Next space, double crochet, chain 1. Next space, double crochet, chain 1, and we're going to just do this all the way around. So continue around, and then once again when we get towards the end of the round, we will rejoin, and I'll show you how to finish off this round and begin round 4. And round 3 is complete. So as you can see, it's grown quite a bit. Now let's grab our embroidery hoop here, and I like to kind of make a round and then kind of see how it looks size-wise. So if you're using an embroidery hoop and you're not sure how many rounds to make, just kind of keep it handy and you can work it that way. Embroidery hoops come in all different sizes, so definitely feel free to use what you have on hand and just kind of hold it next to it or put it around it from time to time as you're working so you know when to stop. Let's move on to round 4. For round 4, we're going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3. And then in the first space right here, we're going to work a double crochet chain 1. So double crochet and a chain 1. And then what we're going to do is work in the next space 2 double crochet chain 1, okay? So 2 double crochet, 1 and 2. And once again, the reason we just did 1 back here is because that chain 3 counted as one of our double crochets, okay? But in each space all the way around, we're going to work a 2 double crochet chain 1, okay? So next space, 2 double crochet, chain 1, next space, whoops. Now when you're using those 2 strands, just make sure that you get them both every single time. one of mine fell down a little bit, so I had to go backwards. All right, 2 double crochet, chain 1, and we're just going to do this all the way around. So let's keep going around, and we'll rejoin towards the end of this round and move on to the next part, okay? Coming up to the end of round 4, just working my last 2 double crochets in that last space. So 2 double crochets, chain 1, and then we're going to join again. Count 1, 2, 3, chains up, join with a slip stitch, and the round is complete. Now, we're going to grab our hoop once again, and what you want to do, because we're going to be kind of sewing this onto the hoop, you don't want it to come to all the way to the hoop. It'll kind of pull open and stretch out a little bit, and that's a good thing. That's what we want. So we're going to stop right here at round 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, okay? So what we want to do next is go ahead and fasten off with our, cut our yarn, fasten off, and I'm going to grab my tapestry needle. So flip it to the back. The back is the side that faced away from you while you worked. You can weave in both strands rather at once, or you can do them one at a time. It's up to you. But I'm going to flip this over to the back, try to get it in the back loops so it won't show on the front part. And then what we're going to do is kind of sew this on to our hoop. You can crochet it on if you want to as well, using slip stitches or single crochet stitches. But we're going to sew ours on with a tapestry needle. All right, so let's get all this straightened out. We want to make sure everything's nice and smooth. All right, give that a little snip. And we already took care of the center tail. So what we need to do now is pop out this center ring of our embroidery hoop, and mine had like a little splintery thing. Make sure yours doesn't have splinters. And we're going to lay it in the middle. Now grab a single strand of yarn, you don't need a double strand this time, and pull out about 24 inches. Grab your tapestry needle, thread it up, and then what you're going to do is you're going to come in from the back here. Now our edge here, if we look at it, it has stitches all the way around. See these little V's? Each little V we're going to treat like a stitch. Okay, just like that. If you were crocheting into it, you would look at it that way too. So come in from the back, and then what you're going to do is pull it almost all the way through, but also tie it onto your hoop as well. Now leave a little tail because we will weave that in at the end and take care of that so it disappears. But just tie that right on so you're incorporating your crochet piece plus your hoop, okay, just like that. Now do your best to not tangle it all up like I am. So then what we're going to do is we're going to just not worry about the tail right now, but we're going to go into each one of these stitches with our yarn, and we're just going to go around and around and around. We're going to whip stitch it on, okay? So come from the back, go over top of it, through those stitches like that, and pull it through. And what that'll do is create a loop around your work. And after you do each one, just kind of tighten it up. Now, I have crocheted things onto rings before, and it's also very easy. I feel like I have a little bit more control of how much I tighten it up. So that's why we're doing it this way. Okay, so come in from the back and pull it through, go around it, come up from the back. We're just trying to get one in each stitch. That will sort of naturally space it just right and what we need in order to have this sewn and stitched to our hoop very nicely. Okay, so you're just going to keep going all the way around till you get to the end. And then when you get to the end, we'll rejoin and we'll finish up and add some fun things to the bottom of it as well. So now that we've stitched everything on, as you can see, it does kind of spread out and it gets nice and taut, so it's not sagging or anything. If you need to reposition some of these, go ahead and do that now. And once you have everything the way you want it, you want to grab your outer hoop and loosen it up. And then you can kind of slip it down. This is easiest to do on a table or a hard surface. You want to just slip it down, and you might need to really, really loosen it up because the yarn is going to add a little bit more width to this, okay? So slide it down on there, and then you can just tighten things right up. And you can hang things as is and just kind of enjoy it this way. Or what you can do, and I always, once I get it tightened, I like to just make sure it's flat and it's not shifting around. But once you get everything on here, you can hang this up as is and just enjoy it this way. Or you can add some fringe. So I'm going to show you how to do that next. So the fringe is really easy. We're just going to take and pull out about 24 inches of yarn and then fold it in half and pull another 24 inches of yarn, fold it in half and pull another 24 inches of yarn. Then you're going to cut the yarn and then you're going to take it in the middle of your little bundle that you just made, and we're going to flip it over to the back because that's going to make it the fringe look the nicest from the front if we do it this way. Now locate the center. I am going to use this little thing here to hang it, but you can do the fringe over top of that if you want to hide it. But what we're going to do is go into one of these stitches down at the bottom here, and you're going to use your hook, and you're going to hook up this yarn and pull it through like that so there's a loop. Then what you're going to do is send those tails through and tighten, okay? And then if you flip it over, see how it looks a little bit smoother on the front? And we're just going to do that all around the bottom, okay? So flip it back over, and you're just going to make some more bundles. I have one just that I made just now. And you can either work from the outward in, or you could start from the middle and work your way out, okay? So go ahead and just do that in each one of those little stitches all the way around. Now, it doesn't really matter where you place the fringe. The important thing is that you place it in the same spot all the way around your piece. What I mean by that is you don't want to go into a stitch here and then go up here into this space and then go back down here. You want it to look uniform. So try to place your fringe in the same place all the way around, okay? And you can see we added our second one and it's starting to really fill in and look pretty. So go ahead and do that around the whole bottom part of your piece. And then when we rejoin, we're going to try to even things up and just give everything a nice trim. Okay, so I went ahead and added all the fringe. Now again, I worked it on the back. You can see it looks a little bit different on the back. That's why I do it that way. You get this nice little knot in the front. If you like this look better, then just flip it the other way if you want to. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is, now as a side note, if you have a sticker like this and you're going to hang it on your wall, you might want to take that off, but I'll do that later. We're going to trim the bottom. So you can see I made my fringe pretty long, and what I'm going to do is just sort of like give it a shake and kind of comb it out and get everything nice and straight, okay? I am going to cut mine into a V the best I can, okay? So if you want to, you can sort of measure. I am going to try and eyeball mine. Now I'm just going to cut these middle loops. These ended up being a little bit shorter, so this is going to have to be the bottom of my points. So what we're going to do is just start snipping. Now a large pair of sharp scissors is your best bet here. And we're just going to cut it as if it was hair strands. Just give it a little haircut. And I'm going to make mine like a little chevron design. Now, I will say that when you're cutting, make sure everything's nice and straight. And also, don't try to move it around too much until you're done. And you can always take a little bit more off. You can't add more on unless you redid the entire fringe, okay? So then what we're going to do is just try to cut some this way. I'm cutting this at a weird angle because of my tripod, but you know, try to do it the best you can here. My hand's kind of bent at a weird angle. And then what you can do is save these scraps if you have like some amigurumi or some things, some stuffies or pillows if you need to stuff. I always save my yarn scraps. Now just give it a little shake, and then we're going to kind of lay it back down and do it again, okay? Now I think I want a little bit like deeper of a V on mine, so I'm just going to give it like another snip and just try to get my, I'm doing kind of a chevron. Just try to get my chevron a little bit pointier, if you will. okay? So you might have to like go back and forth a little bit. You'll have a couple long pieces here and there, but you know, just take your time with this part, especially if you're like me and you insist on eyeballing it. You could make a little template if you like to kind of guide you. That's also something you could do. But I'm just going to kind of trim it here and there until kind of like work it back and forth until I get it the way I want it to look, okay? So just keep going back and forth with your piece until you get that nice shape that you want. Now, I did a sort of a V shape on mine, but you can also do a straight across. You could do an angle, looks very nice as well. So I'm going to keep trimming mine and trim yours and until you get it the way you want it. Okay, so the fringe is complete, and again, you could do any shape really with the fringe that you like, and just keep giving it little snips here and there until it's how you want it to be. And then when you're done, you can just kind of hang it up at the top. You could add a piece of ribbon and hang it from a loop, or you could just hang it on a nail with using this, makes a nice little hanger. So that is how you crochet the natural granny wall hanging. Thanks so much for watching, and be sure and click the subscribe button to get all the latest Fiber Flux video updates. Thanks again.